Hi, this is Scott Garibay. Today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to talk about Called to Netherdeep. We're going to talk about the coolest thing in Called to Netherdeep, the rival adventure team. And we're specifically going to talk about Maggie Keeneyes, the last member of the Io Jabe's adventuring party. All right? So Io Jabe is the water genasi who leads the rival adventuring team that's introduced in Called to Netherdeep. I have recently used this team. I did not use them in Call to Netherdeep. I pulled this entire war band. That's the old term from 3.5 for an adventuring party. I pulled this war band out and used them in a Mages and Mortars D&D 5e game one-shot that I ran, which is a wizard who pulls in soldiers from World War II specifically into Exandria to fight a black dragon that is in her area. So and I used Io Jabe's entire team. They are fantastic. They are an absolutely amazing group. Let's talk about Maggie Keeneyes. She's really interesting. She is interesting. She's actually the least interesting of all the characters. She is a ogre. She is large. This is interesting. So one of the things that Dungeons & Dragons is doing that I really love is they're like, hey, these non-player character humanoids really do not need to play by the same rules as player characters, which makes them feel really fresh and distinct, right? So Maggie Keeneyes, because she's not a player character, she's just straight large, right? Not medium and gets to pretend she's large every now and then. Large. She is large, right? She's 12 feet tall and like 6 feet wide, right? And she is a breaker. So she is a fighter. Actually, Maggie Keeneyes is specifically an ogre adventurer. They vary Wizards of the Coast and Critical Role, because Netherdeep is a Dungeons & Dragons and Critical Role book, official canon Dungeons & Dragons, but also official Critical Role. Very unique book, right? So Maggie Keeneyes, this ogre adventurer, does not have a class. This is huge, right? And I think going forward, Dungeons & Dragons, and this is the thing I love about Dungeons & Dragons, right? Dungeons & Dragons is made by super intelligent people. They're all charismatic, they're all creative, they're all intelligent, right? So when they choose to not put a class on a non-player character that is a humanoid and literally playing the role of an adventurer, that is a really distinctly important point, right? So she is a ogre adventurer, and she is large, okay? She is a breaker, right? So she hits, and she hits hard. She can use almost any weapon, any armor, right? So she's an adventurer, but she's really you could slot her in as a barbarian, you could slot her in as a fighter, you could slot her in as what's the other martial class? That's really about it, right? And so those are the two where she very logically fits. She is now here's where it gets a little weird with Maggie. Okay, so she is this fighter, right? And she is a fighter, like a fighter type, or a barbarian. You could run her as either. She hits really hard, but she doesn't like to do what she does. She's the fighter who's fighting and doing a great job fighting and really good at fighting until she can earn enough money to no longer fight, right? That's her line. I don't believe this. I think this is a crap line. This is when somebody takes a job that they really shouldn't have, and like that nobody should have. That's not really a good job, right? Unless you're all in on it, right? Like this whole thing, I'm only doing this to work my way through college, right? Like that, it's that kind of job, right? And she's like, oh, I'm trapped in being a super good, proficient fighter, right? And you're kind of like, hey, you can go sweep the floor at the tavern, right? Like you don't have to do this, right? And so I don't like that part of Maggie Keeneyes, her storyline, that I'm trapped in being it's like, hey, if you go be a fighter or a barbarian, that's a real class, and like maybe you should leave that to the people who want to do it, right? Like if you don't want to kill people for a job, don't kill people for a job. Nobody's trapped in the hitman role, right? Like it's a highly skilled position, right? Go sweep up in the tavern if you don't want to fight, right? And so the idea that Maggie is trapped in the fighter role. The other thing though is I think I might have been okay with it, and I think the way I would run it is she's a straight reaper, right? And she tells herself that she's trapped, right? Because it's highly paid work with high skills, right? Nobody's trapped in it. Go sweep up at the tavern if you really don't like doing this, right? So that's my take. I also think they're also one of the things they did a great job of with this Maggie Keeneyes character, actually with the entire rival I.O. Jabe's crew, I.O. Jabe's war band, is they're all together because they like spending time together. And I love this idea. We don't see enough of this in if you get stuck with bad players, they're like, I don't like anybody in this group. I'm gonna go sit alone by the fire, and these guys are like, we're here, we're adventuring because we wants to be together. And I just love that role. It's really, really cool, and I really like it. I.O. Jabe's crew, I've covered every single character from it. They are dope. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.